Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for staying back for this session. So today's session 2 is about driving future bilateral partnership between Malaysia and China. So I'll let the first speaker start, Mr. Lee Heng Gui, who's an economist with the Sanghui with the Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, Chinese Chamber of Commerce. He's a very experienced economist for many years with Bank Negara, as well as economist for CIMB Bank. Right? Why don't we, got time constraint, I'd like Mr. Lee to share his first speech.
Good morning, everyone. We are running out of time, so being an economist, I could be quite long-winded, but I believe I can complete my slide within the allocation of 6 to 8 minutes. It's important for me to give a backdrop of how the Malaysia and China over the last 50 years, and that will set the tone for our discussion today. Malaysia and China, what lies ahead for Malaysia and China relationship after the past 50 years? So these are the agenda for my, hello? Hello? Our digitalization is still, everything dropped. Sorry, this thing dropped. Okay. Sorry? Okay, I'll be giving you a quick one between Malaysia and China historical bonding, go through the bilateral trade and investment relationship, and how do we navigate our relationship for the next 50 years or 100 years, and with a conclusion. And then basically, I think over the last 50 years, what we saw, Malaysia and China has stood the time in terms of the strengthening a bilateral relationship between two countries. And we have formed a very strategic partnership for mutual benefits and win-win cooperations. And based on the principle of mutual trust, respect, and understanding. That is very important for any country who would like to build the relationship over the years. I think most important on the second part, we can look at how over the last 50 years, under different prime ministers, they have went through a very significant transformation in terms of strengthening their relationship. I think from now onwards, what are we want to do with this relationship? How do we bring it forward? I think it's important for us to set a new priority for the two countries to strengthen further, not just between on trade, economics, but in the global dimension of geopolitical uncertainty. There's more room for China and Malaysia to further enhance their relationship. Now, if you look at, we should be thankful all the past leadership, the past Prime Minister of Malaysia over the last 50 years, in terms of how they shaped the evolution of the relationship between China and Malaysia. I think the first one, we should be thankful to our second Prime Minister, Tun Abdul Razak, who managed to make the first diplomatic ties with China in 1974. And under the Prime Minister, we have the fourth Prime Minister and seventh Prime Minister, you can see the emphasis. The thing that I remember about Tun Mahathir Mohamad is how he strengthened further between China and Malaysia, and he also worked out all these regional ASEAN initiative in terms of CAFTA, ASEAN plus China plus ASEAN, and also some of the relationship he deepened further. I think the one that under the Prime Minister Najib, obviously, is about supporting further, enhance it to a comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries. And the one that really make a landmark in the Malaysia and China is about the Belt and Road Initiative. And under the present Prime Minister, further strengthened, he visited China 2 times, and that translated into a huge amount of MOU signed between the two countries, and followed by subsequent high official visit between the two country leaders. Now, turning to these other projects, please don't feel anything which I don't highlight, but these are just good examples of the project in Malaysia, and in terms of all the company investing in Malaysia, and also now, let's look into the last 50 years. Now, Malaysia and China continue to strengthen in terms of the trade. And China remains the largest trading partner with Malaysia for the last 15 years consecutively, okay? So in terms of the export share, export remain the second largest, and China is the largest importer for Malaysia. And look at the FDI numbers, though it's ranked about 7 and 8, but in terms of the participation in the manufacturing sector industry in Malaysia, we remain top three. It shows that the significance of the Chinese investor coming to Malaysia, and they are investing in all a very broad base of industry, manufacturing, services, and within the manufacturing, you can see they have also in the iron and steel industry and some of the what call the technology related, the Huawei industry, and also on the EV industry. So these are things that we are welcoming China, because we know China has a lot of things to offer to us in terms of technology, in terms of innovation that Malaysia are lacking. So these are the new areas of cooperation between Malaysia and China, even under the Belt and Road Initiative, or even under an elevated comprehensive partnership between the two countries, which is now into the 11 years of anniversary. Now, these are the statistic number. Being economist, I need to show you the trend. Then only you are convinced why China is important to Malaysia. In terms of the trade flows, bilateral trade, and now we are about 16.3% total trade share. And in terms of export share, it's about the 13%, and import is still quite high, close to 19 and 20%. And these are the bilateral investment flows, yeah, and stocks. From here you can see consistently China has been one of the major investor into Malaysia. Now turning to the approved investment data, what I want to stress here, China continue to remain one of the top 3 largest investor in Malaysia manufacturing sector. So that speak a lot of volume about why we continue to welcome China, not just into the property related, but what we want is manufacturing and services. Yeah, that would help to sustain and balance the growth of engine of Malaysia. Now turning to the tourists, yeah, we want the people-to-people connection, not just within the business, the chamber, the people-to-people, and also the student-to-student, university to university, exchange, research institute. These are important to enhance the understanding between the people of China and Malaysia, a better understanding. I think it's important for the Minister of Malaysia frequently visit China to understand more about China, not just within the Chinese minister, but the non-Chinese minister should make frequent visit, not to understand more about China in terms of culture, in terms of their the policy, so that we have a better promote a more mutual understanding between the two countries. Now, this is important. What lies ahead? What we hope to see over the next 50 years or 100 years between us, between the two countries, which are very close to each other in terms of culture, in terms of our belief, the common. I think we strongly support China in terms of creating to build a global community of shared future. A shared future could be a sustainable, a greener economy, a more eco-friendly economy, which will benefit both the people of the two countries. The first thing is important to deepen mutual trust and sustaining both countries through a comprehensive partnership. Yeah? The second is to commit. It's important. In the era where people are trying to protect their own market, deglobalization, we must continue to commit to free trade. Important to all the multilateral, bilateral agreements that we participating, whether it's through RCEP, CPTPP, or even the multilateral within the China and ASEAN, where now government is going to uplift the China to ASEAN into a level grade 3. And third, it's important, we know Malaysia is on the path of transformation in terms of economic and industrial under all the new industrial master plan, under the national energy transformation roadmap. So we need China investment and China technology in order to help us to deepen our industrial structure. So that's important for us to look into areas of cooperation between the two countries. Obviously, in high-tech technology sector. Second is on EV, on the green investment, on energy, on smart agriculture, or even into the healthcare industry. So these are the areas that we should look forward. on how to further strengthen the relationship and in terms of the cooperation between the two countries. The fourth one, which is Belt and Road Initiative. When China started the Belt and Road Initiative, I've been emphasizing that the quality of the Belt and Road Initiative is important, not just about quantity. I think at the first stage of the Belt and Road is very focusing on helping the country to build their infrastructure. The second stage of the Belt and Road is more quality in terms of how do we help to make a better global economy, greener. There's more digitalization, there's more green. That is the main thing that we are focusing on the energy side. The last one is what I mentioned. When we look into the business side, it's not just about making money. People-to-people connections is important. The exchange is not just within the people-to-people, but between the G and G, the chamber-to-chamber, education-to-education. That is important in order to have a better understanding between two countries, and that together we could build a better global economy, which is based on the principle of mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual understanding. Thank you very much.
That's a 10-minute speech, right? So our next speaker is Tan Sri Lim Kim Yew. He is the founder advisor for Country Hike Group and the first chairman of Malaysia-China Business Council. Tan Sri.
Thank you, Stephen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Because of time constraint, I would like to first thank my comrade Tan Sri Michael Yew once again invite me to speak on the today's section. Driving future bilateral partnership between Malaysia and China. I would like to really share with you my contribution in the three sections. First, when we talk about future, we must share the past, the history and culture. And second, I will share that on my view between the two countries, how we should progress on our economic ties. And third, should be on the political structure. So let me start with the first one first, history. As you look at the logo, Malaysian-China Business Council, that was a brainchild between myself and Tan Sri Michael Yew during the visit of the Deputy President Wu Jintao. We believe between the two countries, if we want to continue to develop, we have to set up the Malaysian Business Council. And thus after that, whether it's Mahathir visit or Pala visit or Najib visit, actually, that time ASLI or now KSI, we have been facilitated on the business forum. And talking about the history, although we talk about 50-year bilateral, but between Malaysia and China, a natural of the two country relationship, it goes much as back as 600 years ago. So in a year of 30-year celebration, where Pala had become the first, the takeover when Tun Mahathir, we have a 600 years Cheng Ho celebration and also 30-year Malaysian-China bilateral celebration. Now, why I mentioned Cheng Ho on the cultural, just now the speaker talked about, actually, when we have a political bilateral relationship, to me, what is most important, we hope the both government must facilitate between the people-to-people exchange. So on the 1st January, there was one of the biggest news that the China come here, no need visa, Malaysia go there, no need visa. But today, I would like to propose that both government must sit down, must further on the people-to-people exchange. Because what make economy work, what make many things work, is not the politician, it's a people, it's a businessman. I hope if you agree, please give me a big round of applause. Now, not only that, I think I bring this book. You look, this is a natural integration of Burma-Jonia culture. The straight Chinese is called Anakan. The Chinese men come here to marry a Malay women. And the two cultures integrate. You look at the architecture, you look at Burma-Jonia food. it actually creates a new civilization. And I think in Malaysia, what makes us stop? If both parties can agree, interstate marriage, I think we should encourage. In China, there's many, 30 million of Chinese Muslim, we should bring them here and do an interstate marriage. This is the way I see. If going forward and next 50 years, we should encourage all forms of people-to-people interaction. So on the economy, I believe, like just now the speaker said, I want to bring 2 points. First point, Malaysia, when we make friends with China, I was the first one was sent by Dr. Mahathir, but it's Tun Gafafa lead the delegation. We go to Beijing, Lhasa, that's first visit. People to people economics. But since then, we see China after Tiananmen Square. Malaysia is the first one to send a minister. And I personally, 120 reporters to go there. And after that, I see the visitor of Malaysia go there, 60,000. Don't forget, today, we look at statistics, Malaysians have also contributed a lot of tourists to go to China. And we must continue to strengthen. But look at China, Malaysia in many areas, China from even now we talk industry 4.0. Now China have go into AI. And just now we listened to Huawei. I also participate on encouraging Huawei to take the Malaysian as, so Huawei today have used a lot of Malaysian Chinese. Why I bring up this point? For example, AI, now we talk about robot, but do we, our Malaysian, we have been lack in research. So it's time for the two countries, the youth get together, how to use Malaysia, which we have a history with a deep of the international trade to ask our youth to go to application. For example, robot, or now you see robot, a lot of people you say, wow, robot, now I can marry the girl, and go on this part, like the internet coming. But we should encourage our youth how to use robot. Maybe nobody think of it. I just got to give example. Actually, I don't like to share. Because after I share, my idea, people take away. For example, recently I taught fire department. I said, why not join me? We 10 robot become fire rescuer. Am I right? So many of this area, we should encourage our youth. But most important, if our youth start good services, market to the world, we face one problem today. That is the currency. You like it or not, I like to propose here, we still have to respect multilateral arrangement. US is a nominal currency. We respect that. But bilaterally, look at it as a businessman. If today China got so many good machinery, good product, but imagine if Malaysian currency keep on devalue. Now toward US, we go almost 5. Towards Singapore, almost 4. Why can't, using China power, the two countries have a bilateral arrangement, peg the currency, create an index, a fair index, based on the GDP. And every 3 years, only change the currency, and you still tied to the multilateral. With that, I think we can create a much peaceful regional trade. Imagine if today we borrow US currency at 4, now we have to repay at 5. You go Singapore, the same. So, mind this idea of bilateral pact and not disturb or respect the multilateral. It can be done. Malaysia has pegged our currency at 3.8. And a lot of people, big economy, when they talk to this entrepreneur, they like to bring many other central bank policy. Businessmen do business. We cannot afford on this speculation on currency because it's very, very destructive. And I think it's time. If we talk bilateral, this is possible. This is what I want to possible on economy. And last but not least, political. As I said, bilateral, 50 years is political structure. So, since my time is out, I will share this because this is a philosophical thinking I have. Now you look at US-China with this trade war. Actually, behind is a differential of two ideology, capitalism and socialism or communism. But Malaysia, we can become a melting pot. I call it capitalism with unique features. And if you are interested to listen since the time off, maybe you can go to my Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Tan Sri has to go for a lunch appointment. That's why I pick in number 2 speaker, right? Thank you, Tan Sri, for all your insightful views about China and your history. So our next speaker is from Hong Kong. Hong Kong lawmaker, right? It's a YB of Hong Kong. We call it YB of Hong Kong, right? So she's going to share with us what's the future between Malaysia and China relations, okay?
Hi everyone,
the Honorable Nixie Lam, yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Nixie Lam. I'm very glad to be here today with everyone. It's not the first time. I remember today I met a lot of people and everyone asked me, oh, is it the first time for you to come to Malaysia? But I'm not. I've been here quite a few times. The first time I came here is actually 10 years ago, exactly for the same purpose. It was the 40th friendship between China and Malaysia, and I was within the 100 youth delegation to come visit here and just know about the culture, know about the history. We start our tour from Malacca and then all the way up to KL and just walk what our ancestors used to go through and then learn the history and things like that. And what happened is, I think over the 10 years, I think the relationship between China and Malaysia, especially in the Hong Kong side as well, has been tightened a lot. A lot of communication is actually going on. I actually, other than a lawmaker, I've also focusing on youth development in Hong Kong. That's why I was told today that I should focus on youth development sectors. So what happened is in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong government sponsored a lot of our youth activities for them to explore outside and inside, for them to go to mainland to understand the markets, the GBA, or even go to other places like further areas, and also international cities. For Hong Kong government, for every years, we do have some exchange programs going to overseas, and Malaysia is one of the cities, countries that we will come and visit. Only from last year, we already have 7 tours of youngsters coming to Malaysia, trying to understand the culture here, trying to do some more exchange, and also look after whether there's any business opportunity for younger to develop their businesses. And same for this year as well. The government already approved 7 programs for them to come over. And I think what is most importantly, we all share similar backgrounds. I remember 2 years ago, I also visited Malaysia because I'm under one of the political parties in Hong Kong, the DAB. We visited here and I spoke to a lot of the younger Malaysian students and asked them, what's your interest? And then they all told me TVB dramas. They love TVB dramas, and then they can tell me exactly which episode is playing at the moment and which character is doing what. And that actually sparks my inspiration when I go back to Hong Kong and talk to the government official. I was telling them, well, why don't we do more communication? I think there is a lot that we need to do. In Hong Kong, we need a lot more youngsters to come and develop their businesses as well. So that's why I was telling the Hong Kong government what we really need to do is to inspire and bring more young Malaysian students to come to Hong Kong and do more communication, try to see whether they can build their businesses. We have a lot of industry that we're doing. The first sector, we're talking about ESG, right, today. In Hong Kong as well, we're building our ESG certification, reputation, and industry around that. And a lot of the youngsters loves their culture. We share similar Chinese background culture. In that aspect, in Hong Kong, under the 14th, 5th plans in Hong Kong, we also need to focus in cultural development in an aspect that we mix the West and the Oriental culture together. So not only when we are talking about Chinese background, I think one of the most important things is in Hong Kong at the moment, what we are actually focusing on business-wise is on further about partnership in ASEAN country and also in the Middle East. So I think for halal certification in Hong Kong, we have a lot of restaurants, as you guys know, but we only have 130 restaurants that is halal certified. So that is a big market for this certification or developments on how to enhance that market. But I think the Malaysian youngsters or Malaysian business people can actually come to Hong Kong and develop in that part as well. I think that sort of communication, I think bilateral relationship partnership is always about people, how people communicate, how deepen that we can communicate, and how we can work on together to build something together. I think that is my sharing. That is my 4 minutes and a half, right? Good timing
Well,
for me.
you really spent less than 5 minutes. I'm so impressed by the Hong Kong kept the time, right? But I think I want to really thank Nixie for coming all the way from Hong Kong. I think it's to know that I'm an advisor to Island Plaza Penang Island 88, right? It's a Hong Kong tycoon. He came to Penang for the last 12 years. He invested in 2 hotels and then a big mall, right? So one of our goal together is to bring the best of Hong Kong cuisine to Penang. So I need your help to find me a good Hong Kong restaurant from the Bay Area to Penang. This is one of my missions in life right now.
I actually own some restaurants in Hong Kong as well. I'm also trying to invest to see whether there's opportunity to invest in Malaysia.
Wow, perfect. This is a perfect meeting of mine, right? I was trying out the Hakka food in Guangdong to bring them over. I tried to convince the boss to bring to Penang. So now that I meet here, I'm very happy to see more and more Hong Kong connection to Malaysia and to right. So next, I'd like to move to Professor Tan Sri Datuk Professor Joseph Adai Kalam, excuse me, right? He's the founder, chairman of Binary University. I was told that he has about 50 to 100 students from China, right, doing the PhD at his university. As you know, Malaysia has got 40,000 Chinese students now studying in Malaysia, right? And in Penang alone, got 5,000 at USM Penang. There's a lot of people studying in China, more and more coming to study in Malaysia, right? Professor Joseph Adakalam, I was told that he was also formerly still with the Malaysia-China Friendship Association. He was running the educational committee, right? So I'll let you share what you have doing, what you see the future of China and Malaysia relations here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Since all the men took to the rostrum, I'll just follow suit. Firstly, congratulations to KSI for arranging such an important and timely forum. Let me begin by sharing that I've been to China more than 25 times. And my first visit to China actually was with the largest delegation from Malaysia. About 700 of us went. Tan Sri Ko Sukun was there, Tan Sri Lim, Tun Lin Yao Sek, of course Dato Majid, former ambassador. So when we arrived in Beijing with the then Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, we actually incidentally we stayed at Shangri-La Beijing. And when we walked down the roads of Beijing, we were welcomed by thousands of bicycles and trishaws, not what you see today. I'm pretty certain that all those 700 delegates who went to Beijing that year would have never imagined that one day China would be a manufacturing powerhouse, creator of the AI technology, EV, and so on. But here we are in 2024, looking at China leading Asia. So what I like to focus on is on the education sector, because I've been in the higher education sector for 40 over years. As pointed out by the moderator, the founder chairman of Binary University. So I like to look at from two angles. One is, what can Malaysia learn from China? And then I'll move on to what can China learn from Malaysia? And finally, the way forward. I'll keep it simple, and definitely I will try to finish it within the 6 minutes. Firstly, if we notice, the success of China has partly been due to the huge investment into R&D, research and development. And if we look at the percentage of GDP, in 2022 itself, it was 2.56%, as opposed to in Malaysia, we spend less than 1% on R&D efforts. And more importantly, it is not just R&D, but the R&D and C, the commercialization of research and development. So that is why we are seeing the technologies coming out, because it has fostered innovation, okay? It has improved the quality of life of people, okay? As well as it has made China a very competitive, advantaged nation. So the lesson that Malaysia can learn is that we need to enhance the amount of investments into research and development, and focusing on commercialization of these R&D activities. The second point I like to point out that Malaysia can learn from China is the role played by the private sector. If you look at companies like Tencent and companies like Alibaba, in the higher education sector, or education sector generally, they have contributed a lot. If you look at Tencent with Tsinghua University, they have invested more than 500 million yuan to put up the joint AI lab. We don't see that in Malaysia. Similarly with Alibaba, we invested into smart technology classrooms in secondary schools as well as primary schools. So the lesson that can be learned by Malaysia is that we must find a way where the large local companies or LLCs need to take the initiative to support an education system by allocating a certain percentage, not just general CSR, but to educational development, which we have seen in China over the last 20 over years. The third point I would like to share is the development of the world's first ranking system. See, many of us in this hall, we know the QS ranking system, we know the higher education, the Times Higher Education ranking system. These are Western education systems which both came up in 2004. But how many of you here know that the first, actually, the ranking system in the world came out in China? And that is the academic ranking of world university system, or the Shanghai ranking, which came out in 2003. So the lesson that can be learned by Malaysia is that Malaysia has got a very unique rating system. See, unlike the West and many developed nations, Malaysia chose to go on a rating system, okay? 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, and so on. And the rating system has got many advantages, which I won't go through. You can always Google and see. But the more important thing is that Malaysia can emulate China, what China did in 2003, and come up with a globally accepted rating system as an alternative for different countries. Yeah? Because in a rating system, you can customize to your country situation. Yeah? Now, moving on, what can Malaysia offer China? So there are two things in the higher education sector that I feel would be useful. The first one is, in the 90s, when Malaysian government recognized that the demand for higher education cannot be met by public universities, because at that time, there was only 9 public universities. The government of Malaysia encouraged, in fact, invited, incentivized, as well as provided financial support and moral support for private sector to drive the higher education sector. Okay? So many colleges became universities. Okay. Okay, many colleges became universities, and today some of these private universities are actually world-class, offering unique offerings which do not compete with other Asian universities or British or European universities or American universities. Okay, finally, since time is not on my side, what I would like to offer as a way forward is the development of a joint ranking rating system by China and Malaysia, bringing together the best of both worlds, something that doesn't exist at the moment in the world market, to further enhance improvement in the higher education sector.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to give time to Mr. Chow Hai, right? Because he flew all the way from Beijing. Let's not let him speak, right? Mr. Chow Hai is a very famous economist in China. He's a think tank director. So he is first time to Malaysia. So let us give him the space. And China has gone through a lot of development. Let's Mr. Chow,
Thank you.
Dr. Chow, yeah.
Thank you very much for KSI's invitation, and
Put the mic, yeah, closer to.
okay, and yeah, I think it's a very great forum. So far, it's a success. I just wanted to contribute a little bit from my perspective, because as the moderator pointed out, this is the first time I'm visiting Malaysia officially. So considering my really small knowledge about Malaysia as well as Malaysia-China relations, it's kind of peculiar why I'm here. So my expertise is on China-US relations. So I would offer you a perspective from China-US relations and then on the impact on Malaysia-China relations and potential areas that both countries can work together on. So there are 5 points I wanted to talk about, which is the transition of US policy in economic and geopolitical area that are challenging for both of our countries. First of all, is the US is now adopting industrial policy or re-adopting industrial policy. So we're changing from the old Washington consensus to a new Washington consensus, which the US wanted to be accepting or receiving more investment, and also from a government perspective, putting more investment in the areas, in the industrial areas, that they deem as strategic. So now we can see that they have multiple legislations funding their semiconductors, their green technology, and the infrastructure. So that's a great change. And second thing is that the US is trying to realign or rearranging global supply chain. And we're right in the middle of it. The pandemic accelerated the process, and therefore a global rearranging of supply chain is ongoing, and China is, and also Malaysia is right in the middle of it. After the pandemic, from our perspective, we see a lot of investment coming from not only China, but also globally, including the United States and Europe and other countries, increasing dramatically their investment in Southeast Asia, including Malaysia. And Malaysia, because it's very good at exporting electronics and electric machinery, and therefore there's a lot more investment in Malaysia focusing on semiconductors, that including Intel and also right now Microsoft, NVIDIA, etc. And China is also investing a lot in Malaysia and in Southeast Asia in general, particularly in Vietnam and Indonesia. And all those investments are now gradually connecting with each other, forming a new network in Southeast Asia. And that way, of course, for China, the benefit is that we can circumvent tariff that the US is imposing on Chinese products. But for the benefit of Southeast Asia is that it will increase its urbanization, industrialization, and a lot more in terms of its own internal development. And the third point is that because of US trying to dominate high-tech development, we're now facing a bifurcation in the technological area, where the United States is trying to build a standard and develop its own semiconductor and operating system that excludes China. So Chinese companies, particularly Huawei, can feel the pressure from the US government in many areas of the world. I think in Southeast Asia, there are also pressure on local governments to abandon Huawei equipment and to basically exclude Huawei from its 5G and other development. So that creates a situation where Chinese are more and more likely to use its own phones, operating systems, and the United States and other Western countries are using their separate system. So what's good, of course, for Southeast Asia is that it can stand in between and become a virtual ware, bridging the two systems. So in the future, I think Southeast Asia as an independent area can operate both Western software and Chinese software. So that's a benefit for Southeast Asia and Malaysia. And the fourth point is that something that we taken for granted, including the trading system, the financial system, is gradually changing. And it's being weaponized by some Western countries, and particularly the United States. So the US in recent years, more and more likely to use financial measures to sanction other countries. And that sort of promoted or started a new era of de-dollarization. There are more and more countries willing to trade and also taking reserves in other alternative currencies or alternative format. Including China. Of course, Russia is the most radical de-dollarization country, but other countries are also seeking alternative, even though so far the US maintained its dominance, but I think an alternative is required. And lastly is geopolitical posturing. Because of the competition geopolitically, we see that South China Sea is again becoming a hot spot, and China-Philippine relations is worsening, and the Coast Guard friction is increasing. So that is challenging for not only China-Filipino relations, but also China-ASEAN relations, including Malaysia. We hear this from our Malaysian friends about how to peacefully resolve this issue, and that's very much in both of our countries' interest. And finally, I wanted to point out, and also previous speakers pointed this out, that a healthy multilateralism and also a ASEAN centrality is very much in the interest of both China and Malaysia. Hopefully, we can work together in this platform, including multilateral trading system like RCEP and China-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, but also like even if other countries work with the United States on IPEF and other trading systems, that would be good for both China and Southeast Asia countries. We can connecting those networks together and making Southeast Asia a more prosperous middle road for all the powers competing in this area. So I think my time is up. I'll stop here and we can communicate later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao Ling, right? Okay. So I think probably we speak one to 2 minutes to share, because the governor is with me.
I think this panel is not properly chaired, I think. Because shortage of time, because arrival of TYT Malacca, I just cut short. Just nobody talking about cooperation between China, the SME. I think now a lot of these Chinese also in Malaysia as a SME company. I think they are more in the manufacturing and trading. So they face some similar problem as what SME Malaysia face. First thing, government support. This is very usual. Even our own SME also didn't get much support from the government. Secondly, they very difficult to get the lack of financial support also. They're very difficult to get the what called finance from the bank, and similarly for our own SME also. Third thing, is because this lack of this human capital or skilled workers. I think China also invested in Malaysia also face a problem of getting skilled workers. I think what happened to them also happened to our SME in Malaysia also. Fourth thing, lack of technical support. I think these many SME in Malaysia face this problem, and China investor in Malaysia also face the same problem. So what I call the technical skill part. The fifth thing is about this what I call marketing. Marketing, you need to how to sell your products to overseas countries or export all these things. I think this China investor in Malaysia also face some of the problem as what our Malaysian SME also face a problem. That's why our SME and China SME should work together and see how to solve the problem because they face a similar problems. I just cut short like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for seeing. So thank you for all the panelists for all the wonderful presentation. Let's now time. The governor is waiting for us outside. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Stephen and all the panelists. Can I invite everyone on stage to kindly come to the front of the stage for a quick photograph?
谢谢我们所有的主讲人，请一起站到台中间拍张合照，谢谢。
Thank you all for your contributions, which were much appreciated on the topic of driving future bilateral partnership between Malaysia and China. Let's give them another warm round of applause as they make their way back to their seats.